Yeah, that like the baby guy. Yeah.
I didn't think about how you would be here listening to me present your workshop. That's not good. You sure you don't want to do it? You still can. That's actually good, though. I can ask you, what did you mean by this? Good. Eat the fruit. Thank you, Paige. You can have the fruit afterwards. Where are your children?
I think there's one more mom who was interested. So let's see. Paznaz and Shilka. I have a picture. They like the professionalism. We're the boss. We're the boss.
Did you sign them off?
They're trying to leave it. Oh. Yeah. My kids love them because they love them. But the other moms, they're still introducing their kids today. I know.
We'll start in 2 minutes. E5. I'll do my best. No, sorry, 6:55. You know what I meant. I need a MacBook Pro. No. I'm talking about the because I use a monitor now. I'm more at home at school. So now every time I'm on my computer only, it feels like I'm staring into a peephole. This is the right size. Come get your cookies. Get your tea. It should be full. You can have water. There's also water back there, sir. Alrighty, we're going to get started. Finish your conversation. Finish your last thought. If you're getting cookies, that is totally fine. Alrighty, let's get started. So, thanks for coming, everybody. Today is an experiment in a few ways. Most notably, as we start, we have childcare. So we have some parents here that are not with their children, which is very okay because they get to be attentive and pay attention. And Jonathan has been working hard on that. So we have 2 professional caretakers. We have experience with them. They're childcare from Paznaz. That's the connection that we have. So if you know any parents that aren't here that would want to be here, you can send them upstairs and it's paid for. It's a great way for us to get parents here. They'll also be here during our English service afterward. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about sleep. This is also an experiment. This is something that Jonathan and I are working together on. So if you notice, Jonathan's name is on the presentation because Jonathan wrote it. Jonathan prepared these materials. He's prepared it. Jonathan's very good at synthesizing research and making it accessible. But today I am presenting his findings. So Jonathan told me to take off his slide. I disobeyed. But you all know about Jonathan. I think everybody here knows Jonathan. He's our associate pastor for our English service, and he'll be preaching at 7. You all know me. But maybe you don't know, I'm also a student in a similar program that Jonathan did. I'm not finished yet. I'm about halfway through. I mention this so that you know I kind of know some things about sleep and mental health. I'm not just a guy that's taking a presentation and just parroting it. I do have some experience in the field also. Not as much as Jonathan. I'm still learning, still in training. So if you have any feedback for me, that'd be great too, as a new presenter. I'm also work as a steward. That's my role that I fill here. And the easiest way that I like to explain it is I'm tasked with cultivating community life, which means I start the bonfire to create community. We organize volunteer things to volunteer for people, which is community. It's a very flexible role that we're still trying to figure out. And this is my future family right here. We're getting married this year. She's sitting over there. Wow. I'm also wearing the same outfit that she picked out for me. She is. Well, I don't know. Before we get started specifically on sleep, Jonathan also asked me to remind us all why we're doing workshops, the heart behind it. We're doing this once a month, the last Thursday of every month, and the intent is serving our community. It's an outreach opportunity. It's both for our community to learn about things that might be parallel to our faith, about things that may not be explicitly about our faith, but hopefully will be supplemental, which we can talk about a little bit moving forward, how sleep or diet, nutrition, or parenting are connected to faith. These are tangent topics for us as a community, but it's also an opportunity, like I said, for outreach, for us to bring people that maybe don't go to church, maybe you're not Christians, or not a part of our church specifically. It doesn't really matter. We don't really care. We just want to serve the community, and we've always said if we disappear, we hope people notice. So please invite people. We are steadily growing this, trying to get the word out. I think Tanya's here. Tanya and Noel and Samuel. I don't know if I'm missing anyone, but working hard on social media to get the word out. Hopefully we'll have banners outside soon in the next few months. Yeah.
I've been sending your website around the world.
Around the world.
And they love it.
Cool. That's great. Thank you for doing that, Greg. So yeah, you can send it.
Anybody is watching it.
Oh, that's great. Don't tell me that. Okay, it's fine. So yeah, that's the heart behind it. And childcare is another step that we started today to bring in parents if they just want to break and stimulate their minds instead of their bodies and taking care of their children. This is a 2-hour block that they get to have. So that's the spiel on workshops. Do you want to add anything to that? Great. Oh, and the service, if people come to the workshop, they are not obligated to come to the service. This is a separate thing from our service. If people are nervous about coming to the service because they're not a part of our faith tradition, they don't have to come. They can say hello, they can come, shake our hands, and leave. There's no obligation. Make sure people realize that we're not trying to bait them into coming to service in any way. We just conveniently have it afterward to be a welcoming space for them. That's it. Thanks for listening to that. So this is a random segue. My fun fact about why I think it's funny I'm doing this, I didn't tell you this, is because many years ago, I used to run an Instagram page for my school that was followed by many, many people, and it was an anonymous page. Nobody knew. And it was called something called Loma Sleeps. Our whole job was, people are laughing that know about it. Basically, if you're on campus and you see somebody asleep, they're sleep deprived, lots of college students, you take a picture and you submit it, and it's sent to everyone on campus, all 2,000 students. So if you look here, these are students that have fallen asleep in class, and it's ultimate pro-social shame to go to bed, basically. And I ran this for 4 years. It was a pleasure. That's just a random fun fact about me. Nobody knew it was me except my friends. And I think Auden runs it now or something weird like that. So the account still runs, and it's being passed to this day. I also wanted to show my favorite person that got featured once. This is Samuel. I learned later that he faked this picture and sent it to me, and I posted it thinking he was asleep. I was pretty naive. Okay, about sleep. This is just a fun fact. So this is a very open-ended topic. Sleep is something we all do 1/3 of our time every single day, and we want to give some disclaimers prior. Jonathan wrote these, and I'm going to express them. You're all here because you want to learn about sleep. You want to learn how to sleep more efficiently or have better sleep hygiene. However, some of the things that we're going to talk about may not be applicable to you because some of us lead lives and careers that are very atypical for sleep hygiene. Doctors that are on call in the middle of the night get woken up or have a graveyard shift. Security guards that are working a graveyard shift. Retail, I remember I worked at Target, and as soon as I left, someone was coming in after me to stock the shelves for 12 hours. So this is seeing these people, that there are unique ways that people manage sleep, and these are just suggestions that might be able to help you if you follow a normal, which I'm going to put quotes on that, way of sleep. And these are not prescriptive. There are unique individuals that have different lives, so don't take it personally if I say you should go to bed every day on time, but you don't, and you're fine, okay? That's kind of the disclaimer. But sleep hygiene is for everyone. Everyone is on a spectrum for how well you sleep, and it's very important for your overall body health. We always talk about exercise. I think recently, the last 10 years, it's been more about also prioritizing sleep. There are many people in here that might think they sleep perfectly fine. Maybe when we define sleep, you might actually realize, maybe I don't sleep perfectly fine. Maybe there's things I can improve. But eventually in your life, it's likely that you might hit a season or a time based on life changes. You have children, you get older, sleep changes as you age, that some of these tips could be helpful or things to reference. And I think that sleep hygiene, just like exercise, is something that you can maintain and grow throughout your lifetime to prepare for some of these mishaps. Let's continue. So we're going to do a quick itinerary of what we're going to be talking about today. What is it? Is it not coming? So first we're going to start with what is sleep. We're going to define what sleep is. I know you all know it's the time at night when you close your eyes and you forget what happens for a while, but it's more complicated than that. Then we're going to be debunking myths, folk wisdom that is not necessarily true or not true for most people. We're going to focus on insomnia. Insomnia is a condition where you're unable to sleep when you want to. It's debilitating. Although we're talking about insomnia, there's a spectrum for insomnia. Even if you don't reach a clinical diagnosis for insomnia, you still might struggle with sleep deprivation, which would put you on that spectrum. So just because you're able to sleep every night, and you might sleep a certain amount, if you're waking up slightly tired, if you're sleeping less than you want to, some nights, once a month, once a week, you're struggling, you're still on the spectrum, and this applies to. Then we're going to talk about CBTI, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. If you've been here for a while, or have been in therapy yourself, you may have heard of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a way to do therapy. There are many ways that are effective. This is one that we're going to focus on because it's most accessible for a workshop setting that might be helpful to you, something we can give you and you can take home and actually have really great results. And we'll just talk about helpful steps to improve sleep in general. Let's keep going. So a brief overview of sleep. Sleep comes in stages. Sleep is not a coherent, consecutive time. As you're sleeping, your brain is doing many different things. This graph looks really confusing. We're going to look through it in a second. So don't ignore the graph for a second. Just focus on this side. So think of your sleep in 4 stages. Some people add a 5th, I believe. We're not going to because it's not relevant. These are the main stages we want to talk about. And if you've ever had a sleep study or you've heard about somebody, this is what they're looking for. They're going to set up a bunch of electrodes on your brain. They're going to be measuring your heart rate. You're going to be measuring your oxygen. And they're trying to gauge what phase of sleep are you in, what's going wrong. And they're getting all of this data, which we won't go extensively into. The longer you fall asleep, the more that this changes. It's not uniform. Your brain is fluctuating between the stages depending on what you need. Your brain is amazing. It's constantly figuring out what does the body need, what do I need to prioritize, how much have I gotten this night, and it's fluctuating back and forth. But there are certain cycles. So for a normal night, you're not going to skip to REM for no reason. It typically goes 1, 2, 3, and then REM. Sometimes it's switched back and forth. So let's go through each stage. Wait, where's my cursor? John? Oh, I got it. There you go. So stage 1 is the most brief. Imagine you're watching TV, which I think we've all done, and you drift off. You can sometimes still hear the TV in the background. You might hear voices of people talking. Maybe you wake back up and you feel like you didn't actually sleep, but you kind of dozed off a little bit. This is stage 1. It's very similar to being awake, but you're not completely asleep yet. Your brain is preparing. It's a foundational step. You can be quickly aroused. If you notice, when you doze off and you get up, you don't feel groggy. You're just barely up, and then you come back. This is where you might respond. If someone asks you, "Are you asleep?" You might kind of groan, like, "No, not yet." Your brain is still active in some way. And you tend to spend about 5% of your time in the sleep. The sleep is a prep step. Stage 2 is deeper. We get deeper and deeper. If you fall asleep on the couch while watching TV, you might wake up cold. I'm looking for a break-in. I'm looking for my mom to put something on me, or my grandma, or my spouse. That means that you've gotten to stage 2. If you're feeling slightly groggy, this is where you'll find it. You get colder, your body starts to shut down, your heart rate starts to drop. This is the time that you may grind your teeth. This is when the body is slowing down, not just the mind, also the body. And most researchers think that this is one of the most important stages for helping the brain consolidate memories and pruning neurons that are not used. So as you progress throughout your lifetime, the brain is very efficient. That's why kids are able to learn language easier when they're younger as opposed to they're older. Your brain has many neurons in the beginning, and during sleep, it starts to slice neurons off that is not being used to make room for other neural connections that is more important to you, more applicable. It's constantly adaptive. Again, very high level. I'm not a neurologist, but that's kind of the gist. Stage 3 is the deepest sleep. I'm going to give a little video to describe this one. Deepest sleep. This is so deep that if you're woken during this stage, you'll feel like your brain is in a fog. This has happened to me. I remember I was at school and a fire alarm went off, and I've never been so angry in my whole life. And I didn't feel like me. Like I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was. So if you wake up and you feel alert, it's because you're at a higher stage of sleep. If you wake up and you don't know who you are, you're immediately angry, you're in a different phase of sleep. You're not a bad person. Somebody just woke you up during one of the bad stages. There's a lot of grace in the middle of the night for how you behave. So yeah, deepest sleep. Research has shown that this fogginess, it's called sleep inertia. You're moving through sleep is the language. Usually lasts about 30 minutes to an hour. I think it's the longest phase, right? Including REM. Very difficult to wake you up. This is why sometimes, you're having your NAS nap. That's what we call it at Sunday morning, Sunday after church. And, I remember with my parents, I'd make a really loud noise and they don't wake up somehow. I'm like, oh, I can get away with it. But then other times and they wake up. It's because they're in a different phase. It's just different. Here it's written, some people, it can be as loud as 100 decibels, which is a lawnmower or a horn. You're out. Your brain is just not prioritizing anything other than the cycle that you're in. In this stage, the body is repaired. Bones and tissues are repaired. This is where muscle is built and your immune system is strengthened. This is also where you might experience sleepwalking, night terrors, and also bedwetting, which kind of makes sense. How could a kid or an adult wet yourself? It's because your body is so asleep that it can't experience, it doesn't feel anything. You're as close to not being alive as you are at stage 3. That's the deepest type of sleep. I'm going to show a quick video of myself, so I don't put anyone else. So I was also featured on Loma Sleeps before I ran it. And I don't know if it's going to play. Okay, good. I wanted to show it. I fell asleep at 7 p.m. I was very tired, emotional day. My friends snuck in. I'm a deep sleeper, but this was extra deep. And they put all this stuff on me while I was asleep. They put a piñata, they put a stop sign, they stacked 2 water bottles on my head. Do you see that? I have no memory of it. I was out. Not stage 1, not stage 2, stage 3. Okay? I'm going to play it. Then, they couldn't believe it. They got bored. So hopefully this plays. They decided to wake me up. I sat with my hand in my face like this, trying to figure out who I was for about 20 minutes. Brain fogginess, sleep inertia. And I don't think I was myself for another hour. This is stage 3. So again, grace if this happens to you. Grace to someone else if you perceive that they're just very angry for some reason, because they are in a very, very deep sleep. Stage 3 is not the last stage. It is the deepest sleep. I don't know if you guys could hear it. So let's make sense of this graph, and then I'll describe REM. So you have wakefulness. This is where you're awake. Then you see there's REM, but that's not where you go first. This next stage is where you go to stage 2. You're getting deeper and deeper. Wait, stage 2? Stage 1. Stage 1. Then you're going to stage 2, then stage 3. It's not a perfect linear graph. Sometimes you can bump up and then come back down. But it does follow this kind of wave-like, what is it? Not a normal distribution. It's a kind of sort of a wave. Then, so it's coming up, you go back to stage 2, and then what's really interesting, this is why I'm showing the graph, you go to REM. REM is a very unique sleep stage. I don't think we know that much about it. We know some stuff about it. Where you get the closest to wakefulness as you do during your sleep. You see how you shoot up? This yellow part is REM. REM is a really weird sleep stage where your body is completely asleep, but they've observed that your brain is as active as you are when you're awake, but you're still asleep. This is when you dream. This is when your brain starts doing backflips and creating images in your mind that aren't really there. There's a lot of theory in psychology and within the faith tradition of what dreams are, and we don't really have objective data. We have faith of what it might mean. We have theories and science of what it might mean, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. That the science theory, I'm sure there's more, that I remember is they think it has something to do with consolidating memory. That's the simplest I've heard. I've heard many others too, but and the reason they call it REM, rapid eye movement, your eyes are the only thing that move, as if you're seeing when you're dreaming. It's very strange. So your body's asleep, your eyes are moving, your brain is very, very active. As you progress through the night, you'll notice that everything's getting fatter. You see that? Which is why we prescribe sleeping more hours. Your brain shortens stages to make sure that you get every stage in the beginning of the night. So it's very efficient. It's going to get stage 1, and then stage 2, then stage 3, then REM. Okay, we got 1. Now I got 1. I'm going to go to the second cycle. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on every stage, and then a little bit more time, which is why you have the most to gain, sort of. I don't know if this is exactly right, but the most to gain in the last stages of sleep. Look how long those stages are. This is why you can't just really function with 4 hours of sleep. You really need the whole thing. Again, if you don't sleep at all, that's really bad. But this is more of a bid for you to realize why staying up an extra 3 hours to watch TV is really bad, because you're missing out on some of the juicy steak of the meal that is sleep as the phases are getting longer. Got through that. Yeah, it's also added REM is not restful. It's more kind of stimulating. Sleep is not just about rest. It's about processing. It's about consolidating. It's about brain health. People think that sleep is just rest. It's not. It's a full body process that's really, really important, and some of which we don't even fully understand. Sleep is something that we're still trying to figure out. I think I got it all. John? Cool. Oh, that was before. Okay. So we briefly mentioned some of the important reasons why sleep's important through the stages. It also impacts your ability to digest. Digestion is really important. And also maintain your body's immunity. This is why you frequently get sick after a big project or an all-nighter, because the immune system is repairing itself during sleep. This is why folk wisdom of you're sick, go to bed. It's here. If you want to fight a sickness, sleep is very important. If you want to prevent a sickness, sleep is important because your immunity is being maintained. It's harder to stay healthy if you're getting too little or interrupted sleep or poor quality sleep. You can be asleep but be hovering around stage 2 and stage 3, or you're having shorter stages, but you're not having very good sleep. So just because you're getting 8 hours of sleep doesn't necessarily mean you have nothing to change with your behavior on changing some of the things that we're talking about. Injuries are the same way. If you want to build muscles, we talked about stage 2. If you want to build muscles, sleep is important. If you want to heal broken bones or torn tissue, it's all done during sleep. Kind of makes sense. Your body's not going to heal itself while you're moving around and making it hard for it, right? It's going to do it during the restocking, the cargo. You're filling cargo back into the tank. A lack of sleep prolongs, inhibits healing. We'll keep going. Third, and this is Jonathan, very important to us, mood. Very, very important. I can't tell you how many times Juliana does something that is completely fine, I haven't slept, and I just get upset. I'm like, I don't know why I'm upset. Not really sure, but it's upsetting. And we both check in, I haven't slept enough. I go take a nap, which we'll talk about naps, but I still like naps. Naps are good for me specifically. And I'm not angry anymore. Because this isn't to say that every time you're angry and maybe get irritated for a bad reason, it's because you haven't slept, but sometimes this is a really important step. And we talk about being building coping skills, being kinder, being loving. Sleep is very, very important in how we cope, how we behave, how we our capacities, our emotional capacities. So if you're frustrated with yourself for not treating your family or your spouse well, or you want to be more patient at work, or you're frustrated because work is frustrating and you're only sleeping 5 hours, and I encourage you to have grace for yourself, there might be some very large gains in creating more healthy habits around sleep. Lastly, we're going to talk about sleep drive. Oh, I keep forgetting it's not showing. We're going to talk about this graph. So simply put, there's something called sleep drive, your body's desire to sleep. And there's something called sleep load, which is your sleep drive and desire to sleep. So sleep load is the amount to which your body wants to shut down and do this crazy, awesome process. It's similar to your drive for hunger. Again, our brains are amazing. There's all these built-in sensors of telling you what you need, the biological needs. So similar for hunger, for thirst. And usually you are not hungry if you just ate a meal, or thirsty after drinking a cup of water. You will get hungry or thirsty the longer times that passes between consumption. So it's the same thing for sleep. This is common sense. I just want to teach us the language of what sleep load is. So you're usually not sleepy the moment you wake up in the morning, unless you didn't sleep enough, which would mean that you have a very low sleep load. You're awake. Your body did its job. Everything's back to normal. We're here. Sleep. We're here. Sorry. Okay? Circadian rhythm is related but different. So circadian rhythm, on the other hand, is more about what keeps you awake. So as you can see from the graph, you're seeing circadian rhythm and sleep load follow each other. You see that? As you can see from this graph, your circadian rhythm kicks in the morning, right when you wake up. Our bodies are very good at We're designed around the sun. We're designed around light. It's amazing. I don't even think we fully understand, or I don't. Maybe there's data out there. How our brains are accustomed to this internal clock. I know my dad always talks about how amazing it is that some people can wake up a minute before their alarm. You're in a different state or a different time zone, but your body is like, it's time to be awake. It's quite amazing. So your circadian rhythm kicks in the morning right when you wake up, and at the same time, your sleep load is very limited when you first wake up. So as time progresses, you'll have more desire to fall asleep, but your circadian rhythm maintains alertness. So there's this dance, this relationship, this tension between the desire to sleep and the desire to stay awake at all times. Sometimes you're feeling very alert, sometimes you're feeling very sleepy. Things like work, exercise, food, substances, all of these will impact it. There's so many factors. We'll talk about some ways to improve it. You have to isolate them all. There's so many different things it could be. Some will increase your sleep load. If you have a depressant like alcohol or CBD, that's going to increase your load. If you have caffeine, that's going to decrease your load. So the most important factor, remember, you want your sleep drive to build as high as possible when it's time to go to bed. You want to be economical, is the way I'll put it, and trying to get your sleep load to be the highest, to be the most sleepy when you desire to go to bed, if you're struggling with insomnia. So here's a couple more myths we're going to talk about. So, how many hours of sleep do you need? 8? 6 to 8, 6 to 7, 7 to 9, more than I get? More than you're getting. Good. I've heard all kinds of answers. I've heard at least 6. I've heard up to 9. I've heard if you're below 12, you get like 13 or something crazy. Amount of sleep is like shoe size. It's a one size doesn't fit all at all. Everybody is different. I've heard crazy stories of people that function on 4 hours of sleep. I don't get it. I get concerned. But they're claimed to be healthier and more alert. Yeah, I need 9, personally. Otherwise, I just don't feel right. So each person requires different amounts of sleep, which, like we said, depends on a lot of different factors, a lot of different differences in body type, just like how it's all biology, so it's different for everybody. But most researchers have described somewhere around 7 to 9. So I'd say that you guys are all pretty accurate with that. Again, the number is higher for children, lower for elderly. So as you get older, if you're 20, you might be getting more sleep. If you're middle-aged to elderly, you might be sleeping less. Do you know why, John? Why you sleep less as you get older? Do you know why you don't need as much? Yeah, I don't either. It's just the trauma of it. It could be. I've heard of elder people sleeping more. That might be different factors, but supposedly, again, we started with the beginning. Everyone's different. You need less, supposedly.
I guess would be type of development.
Yeah.
Amount of neurons and the functioning, and you do a lot more when you're a kid as opposed to an adult.
You're learning more things as a kid. You're acquiring all these experiences, language. When you're older, you're kind of set in your ways in some ways.
Isn't it like a state of mind too, though? If, like, presently, what you're thinking and what you're going through, to require like sleep or not? Like this week, all week, I had 3 hours of sleep every day, and I'm awake as a peacock.
It's you.
No, it's not.
You figured out a way.
I would have been I'd fall on my head, and not this week. So things change, maybe. Things
change, and it could be, and we're going to talk about, just because your sleep load is managed one day doesn't necessarily mean it'll be managed next week, if that makes sense. Yeah. Does that make sense? Let's see. Okay, so lower for children. There's my notes. Okay, general guideline is Greg, is you want to have enough sleep so you won't feel fatigued during the day. That's basically it. If what you're doing is working for you long term and you feel rested and you're not getting sick and you're otherwise healthy, who am I to say that you need to sleep an extra hour? Sleep is not a moral issue. It's more of are you getting what you need? Is your body efficient? Just like there's some freak athletes out there that can jump a lot higher than me, there's some freak sleepers out there that can get a lot with a lot less in the sleep cycle. So maybe you're sleep talented. I'm not sure. Okay, so there might be other factors then. It's written here, like, if you were to come into a therapist and they were talking about sleep, the first question is, how's it working for you? I've met with kids, they're falling asleep. I can't do therapy with this kid. It's not helpful. I'm calling the parents. I'm like, therapy's not helpful. You guys are paying for this. It doesn't make any sense. The kid is deprived of a very basic, it's like the kid is hungry. It's the same thing. If it's working for you, then great, if you're able to comprehend and get through life. So one way to know if you're sleeping well enough or not is to tune into your body. Am I feeling well rested over time? Not just yesterday, not just 2 days ago. What is my common sleep over time? And we're going to talk about how to track that. That's the best way. And I will again say, sleep is not moral. Everyone is different. It's not a prescription. It's more of what works for you. Here's another myth, sometimes we get confused about some of these ideas. Is anyone tired here right now? 1, 2. Tired. I'm a little tired. Okay. Okay, different question, not the same question. Is anyone sleepy? A little sleepy, putting you to sleep a little bit. Different, right? So being fatigued and being sleepy are two different things. Remember back to the last time you drove a car. You just had a long days of work. Some of us work at our computers. Some of us work with our hands. And you're going home, and you're like, man, I'm tired. You're driving home, operating a car at 70 miles per hour. Are you sleepy? Sometimes. Okay, Todd, let's talk. Sometimes you can be. Sometimes you can be. But a lot of the time, you're disengaged. But you can be tired and not necessarily about to go into stage 1 sleepy. Those things are typically hand in hand, but not always.
Can I say something real quick? Has anyone experienced ever drinking and you close your eyes? I don't know how long it lasts, and you wake up again and you're still on the same thing.
I've heard stories of that.
That's happened to me a lot.
It's kind of like sleepwalking. You're probably so sleep deprived. I don't know. My guess is, based on what we're talking about, you're so sleep deprived that your body immediately goes to stage 3, which is where people sleepwalk. Your brain is still operating, and you're just I don't fully know. I'm not going to pretend like I know, but that means you are incredibly sleep deprived. Like you need to get to bed, emergency.
Driving while sleeping is a common occurrence near Art Center above the Rose Bowl after 7 p.m. It happens like once a certain distance. Very common.
It's crazy.
Dangerous. Don't drive there.
Yes, if this happens to you, be careful. Call an Uber. Seriously, it'll be a very well spent $50. Or pull off the road, and we'll talk about naps. Naps are not always good, but take a nap because it's not worth it.
Documented studies show that it's more dangerous to drive sleepy than drunk.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Sleepy is more dangerous than drunk.
I do have a story. I had a friend He doesn't drink and drive. He was exhausted. And he got pulled over for drunk driving. And the guy made him walk in a straight line because it's presenting as the same thing. Your brain is not functioning properly.
When they get pulled over, do they fail the same way for like a DUI?
Say it again.
Like, is someone who's sleep deprived, are they able to walk a straight line? They might be awake then.
The adrenaline will wake him up. Yeah, if I remember correctly, he did pass the test.
They're not going to fall asleep while walking.
Because when you're drunk, you're inhibited. So just because there's a cop, you don't really care because your prefrontal's gone. When you're asleep, your brain is shutting down. As soon as you see anxiety of a cop, you wake up. Unless you're so sleep deprived you're hallucinating. That's different, which can happen.
So I've experienced falling asleep in one location of the house and then waking up in a different location, having no memory of point A to point B. But science says that I was somewhat coherent, but I don't remember. So what does that mean?
That happens to me also. I'm your brother, so
What stage of sleep was I operating in to have a conversation that has no
probably
memory?
3, right?
Three to
3
REM.
to REM. 3 to REM, because again, REM is very strange because your brain is active. It's very weird. And again, I don't know the answer. I can't unless we hook you up, which I think they do. But you're definitely not in 1, and you're definitely not in 2. You're either in 3 or REM. And if you're talking, I would guess REM. Yeah. It's possible we don't know. Like maybe there's something weird about memory related to sleep. But I don't know much about that. People don't really know that much about the brain. Also, like I have no idea. We just know some stuff. Don't do it. Okay, I lost my notes here. Let me give me a second. So we were talking about the difference between being sleepy and the difference between tired. Your goal is to be as tired as you progress through the day, and ultimately you only want to be sleepy when you go to sleep. So if you're having trouble with insomnia, we want to make sure and try to make sure that you're not sleep. You can be tired, but we don't want you to be sleepy during the day. We want to save that for the moment that you sit down in your bed and you fall asleep. So sleep hygiene is about planning your day, planning the biological processes and the factors that guide your day so that you are sleepy when you're supposed to be. It's common sense, but it's important. So if you're tired and you want to rest, this happens to me all the time. I come home from work. Do something restful but stimulating. Don't go lay down if you're having trouble with sleep. You want to make sure that you save those neurotransmitters, those signals that are telling you to sleep for when you're trying to go to sleep. If you waste them, that's the language I'm going to use. Again, there's some people, I can take a nap and still go to bed, so this is maybe not applying to me. But if I still want better sleep hygiene, I shouldn't try to sleep until it's time to go to bed. As long as I have enough hours, of course, to sleep throughout the night. Yeah?
What kind of activities would you say?
Oh, that's a great segue. So the ones listed here. So if you're tired, prepare a meal. You know, your body, those other signals are excited about food. That's going to wake you up a little bit. And it's not that stimulating. Go for a walk. That's slightly stimulating but restful as long as you're not plowing through your walk. Do some mindless chores. Just avoid being too comfortable before you sleep. What you're trying to do is build your sleep drive, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So we talked about sleep drive earlier. This impacts naps directly. This is a controversial point, but again, not for everyone. If you're having insomnia, naps are not helpful. Do not nap. Samuel woke up from a nap right before he came here. So for the most part, sometimes naps are helpful. You're sleep deprived, your brain's not working, take a nap. But if naps are part of your daily rhythm and you're having troubles going to bed or you're waking up feeling tired, it's not helpful. So you're arguably resetting your sleep drive, yet maintaining your fatigue since you're not fully resting. You're tricking your body. You're pulling a carrot from it, right? Oh, we're going to sleep. I'm going to take all the neurochemicals that are going to get you sleepy later, but we're not going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 stages. It's just not good sleep economy. So when you nap, it resets your load in the middle of the day without restoring as much fatigue as you would expect. You want to save all your sleep for the most important time, the Super Bowl of sleep of the day, which is nighttime. If you start skipping stages, you're going to nap, skip from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to sleep less at night, and then you're going to get shorter stages, and it's not good sleep hygiene. Within reason, I take naps, and I feel rested most of the time. Sometimes I have to have a nap. Otherwise, I'm going to be irritable. Right, Jules? Yeah, there it is. So this is within reason. This is an ideal. Obviously, life happens. Yeah.
So what is your part of naps being helpful, be counterintuitive if you're accumulating, that Super Bowl sleep, as you say?
Say it again.
So wouldn't the bullet point of naps are helpful be counterintuitive if you're trying to accumulate,
This is a myth we're debunking. Yeah. I see what you. Yeah, that's a little confusing when I look at it like that too. But we're dedumping that naps are always helpful. Sometimes, most of the time, they're not helpful. Last myth to debunk. Is there really a difference in how people function at different times of the day? So who's here is a morning person? Who here is a night owl? Interesting. Another controversial point. This doesn't exist. You can function differently at different times of the day. Some people are just better in the morning than others. Some people are more alert during the night. But again, within reason, it depends on your personality. It depends on factors. But if you really, really wanted to, you can teach your body to be a morning person. I would just argue that your personality and the factors in your life just don't make it enticing enough for you to learn how to do it. You can disagree. That's okay. But it's behavioral. If you've been a night person for 20 years, that's going to take a lot of resources and energy and desire and motivation and potential reward for you to switch. Personality is one of the hardest things to change in therapy. People spend 10 years in therapy trying to change personality. And Jonathan here is adding sleep patterns and your preference for being awake at night or in the morning as a part of personality.
I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm going to sleep because I haven't slept for 3 years," so they sleep for a longer time. Is that helpful or not? Because I do that once a week.
I've heard in class we've talked about how you can't catch up on sleep. You can't catch up, but your body is so messed up from that it's going to do everything you can.
I sleep 3-4 hours, sometimes usually 5 hours, but once a week. It turns out to be.
I would say it's probably better that you do sleep more, probably.
Yeah.
But don't be like, ooh, I caught up. Got my hours for the week. That's not quite how it works.
So if you can't catch up, why did I sleep 16 hours after not sleeping?
Your brain's trying to get as much as it can.
Is it like being sick?
So what do I call it? Not that I'm advocating anybody do that. Just understand.
So, for example, there's a phenomenon. There's a phenomenon called REM rebound.
Yeah.
Where you've skipped sleeping, you haven't been hitting all the stages, you haven't been hitting REM. So your body will, when you fall asleep, it'll just jump straight into REM, which is not restful sleep. So you're sleeping, you're feeling better in certain ways, but your body's not fully going through stage 2, which is for physically building back up your body, stage 3, which is for pruning your brain.
So I maybe had an unusual reps and cycles inside of that.
Yeah, we're sleeping, but it's not.
When I've been very sleep deprived, I've taken my quick 20-minute nap, and I dream. That's not good.
You just jump straight to REM.
Because I'm jumping straight to REM. My brain, because REM I think is the most important, supposedly. They're all important, but your brain prioritizes REM when you're deprived.
When I take an overnight shift, work until 8 a.m. the next morning, I'm not able to nap. I can't fall asleep in the morning.
Yeah.
I just treat it as a day off and just, my post-call day, I'll go to bed at like 8, but I don't know, I can't nap during the day.
Yeah.
Put blinders on and nothing.
It's very unique. I think people don't talk enough about your particular sleep. I'm going to use the word personality. Like, Juliana's similar. If she wakes up, even if she's had, right, Jules, like 3 hours of sleep, she's done for the day. If I didn't sleep 3 hours, I'm going to sleep the whole day. That's just how I am. Yeah.
Army needs advice.
What do you mean?
She's been trying to change me for 10 years. She failed, she gave up.
What are we talking about, Greg? Oh, okay, yeah. So, I'm halfway through and it's 7. We got to call it, right? So, Jonathan, when Jonathan was preparing this and I was working with him, I don't think it's possible. So, we were originally going to do part 2, and today I frequently misjudged time. I was like, John, I got it. 45 minutes, easy, yeah.
When we continue this,
yeah.
Because my hope was to get like tips on how to go into REM, or like
which is the second.
Stages. Like, is there like tips and tricks, habits to?
Yeah. So I think it's not surprising that we're ending right here, and it's a good stopping point because we're just about to launch into part 2, which we were on the fence of. So we're going to continue next time. Yeah.
I have the opposite problem of guiding it. I'm looking for a way of eliminating that.
I'll take it.
IMAX Oscar-winning award dreams. You too, right?
We could add some stuff based on questions.
I can tell you what I dreamed 3 days ago.
Oh my gosh.
So, should I make a dynamic comment?
Yeah.
I know what it was.
So, I think it would be helpful with our time. We'll figure out a way. This is helpful. We have a good baseline. We can get questions. I can make a quick answer to that. We can get questions and cater it specifically to you because most of what we're talking about is related to sleep hygiene tips. There is no quick fix for anything, including diet, including parenting. There are just general guidelines that are very helpful. So we'll collect questions and add things past those quick tips. I can answer that one question. There are different theories of what dreams are. So you can answer that question from multiple different disciplines. From a CBT perspective, what would you say? He's maybe too much time in REM?
Yeah, it could be, but it's still. We only spend like 15 minutes, but then it'll still feel like the dream is very long. Like time is not something
right.
that's being monitored properly.
Right.
So.
From a faith perspective, that is very heavily on dreams. You could see it as God giving you those dreams for a reason, possibly. Some people believe that. There's also a different type of therapy that really emphasizes the unconscious, things happening in your brain that you're not aware of. So it takes past experiences, your parenting, trauma, any sort of experience. Your brain is constantly processing and trying to make sense of the world in the present based on your past. And some people think that dreams are the unconscious replaying the past, trying to make sense of your present today.
Wow, that was said very well. Where do I turn that stinking switch off?
Hit your head.
A lot of time. Yeah.
You don't have to answer today. I have the opposite problem.
You don't dream.
I don't remember my
So that's actually behavioral. It can be.
like never.
There's actually some, we talked about in class, that if you have the habit of when you do have a dream you remember,
Very rare, like 1 out of
you very, very, very intentionally write it all down. As soon as you wake up. Dream journal.
Do I care?
For me,
Like is it hygienic? It's better than remembering that I had that.
It makes no difference.
I disagree with him. I disagree with Jonathan because we think differently.
Right, yeah, that's right,
I'm a little bit more of the other type of therapy. And for my own personal therapy that thinks about dreams as something that's more about the past coming into the present that I can make meaning of, discussing my dreams with another person, how they might make sense of my past and my present has been very meaningful to me. So if you're in therapy and if you're ascribing meaning to dreams, they're helpful. If you don't ascribe meaning to dreams because of your faith tradition or your circumstance, they're not helpful. Yeah. You can change. Do you disagree with that?
I disagree, but that's okay.
From that argument, yeah.
People say, well, my mom used to say, if you sleep before midnight, like 3 hours, you can multiply that twice. It's more important than after.
Say that again. What's the folk wisdom?
Before midnight, whatever, each hour is double. Like if you sleep 3 hours before midnight, you can double that, meaning more effective than after midnight.
So the time is relative. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with midnight or after, but there is some truth in the folk wisdom because of this. Not that. Because of this, she's basically what you're saying is you have better sleep economy the more hours you get from 6, 7, 8, and 9. But I mean, biologically, it's best to keep your body based on night and day, but I don't think there's a magic multiplier.
Your fourth, fifth, sixth hour is much more restful than your first, second,
Right.
hour. Because you can see, so those first 3 hours are really important because you want to get those cycles stretched out. So if you're going to sleep at midnight, then the sun's coming up at 5, 6 a.m., now you're interrupting the part where it could be as helpful as possible. So that's kind of the idea.
A really bad, quick metaphor is like a building that you're building every night. You spend a lot of time in the beginning, like the foundation, and it doesn't look like anything, right? And the structure's going up, but the last 20%, the glass, the paint, it does a lot for your eye. That's kind of what we're talking about.
Are you going to discuss jet lag?
That was on the list, so we could add it.
We'll figure out a way to get questions. Yeah, we'll do it again. This is great. Again, this was an experiment, so thank you for being a part of it. Maybe a couple more.
I know what Arno was dreaming of. It was his wife, cohort. Jonathan always tells me to sleep. I don't listen to him. So just real quickly. In November, 2 years ago, when I went to Mount Everest to the Himalayas, we slept 3-4 hours a night. Nothing happened to me. And 2-3 months later, the boys were born, and I was sleeping again 2-3 hours, and my circadian rhythm was affected, and I got into clinical depression for 8 months. So why? I was sleeping the same amount of time, 3 months apart.
I can't specifically answer your question.
I should have never gone to Mount Everest.
Yeah.
But nothing happened to me then. That's the point.
Thank you, Josh. We'll pick this up next time. And we'll keep going.
Thanks to Jonathan. We'll get questions from you soon.